Hey everyone, are you sick of vine borers ruining your plants and absolutely destroying your squash harvest? Would you like to get rid of vine borers completely, totally, 100% organically and finally have a decent squash harvest? This has worked for me for 3 years now. All you have to do is inject your plants. I know, it sounds bad, but BT is organic and it is a biological pesticide. It's actually concentrated bacteria. It is completely harmless for humans and pets, so that is a huge plus. And it also will not kill beneficial insects, pollinators, anything on the lakes. So if you don't want to harm the bees, this is your best bet. So what is BT? BT is Bacillus thuringiensis. This is what I use. It's a strain of bacteria that is actually fatal to borer larvae. So if you have squash vine borers laying eggs on your plants and the larvae are burrowing down into your plant stems, whenever you inject this stuff right here, they ingest it as they're munching on your plant, and when they ingest it, they immediately stop eating. Therefore, there is no more damage being caused to your plant, and the borers will eventually die out. So this stuff is absolutely amazing, and if you haven't tried it, you need to before you give up growing squash. Now, how this concentrate works is whenever you mix it into water, it becomes active for about 48 hours. Once you inject it, it will guard your vines by causing all of the borers to eventually succumb. This means you can eliminate an entire population of vine borers that may be living in your plants right now with one treatment. How amazing is that? And it seriously works. I love this stuff so much. I would also like to tip you guys off with a little secret. This stuff also works for earworms with corn. So if you have corn growing, just spray the silks down. It helps so much with preventing earworms so that you can get beautiful ears of corn without the damage. So again, here's the bottle. I'm going to give you a close-up this time. And this is Safer brand. As you can see, this is the brand that I use. This is the brand that I love. And just for reference, this is a new bottle. I actually bought it last year and I haven't even used it yet. So I have an old bottle that I'm still using. It's technically expired, but it's still protecting my plants. Now that bottle, I bought it in 2017 and it's still going. So a little bit goes a long way, and for, I think it was like $12 for this stuff. It's not expensive, it's super cheap, and it's totally worth it. It lasts forever, so you probably won't need too much of it. The instructions say to mix 1.5 ounces with 3 gallons of water, so you already know that this is going a really long way. I actually don't really measure it too well myself. I just put a splash in a jar. Alright, so let's get started. You're going to need your BT. You are also going to need a jar, and you're going to want to fill it with water. This is the size I use. This is all I really need. By the time I get done with my plants, I usually have about a half a jar left, and then I take that half a jar and I just kind of pour it over the stems of the plants just for a little extra protection. And then you're going to need a syringe. I like doing that. Sorry. The mixing instructions: 3 gallons of water to 1 ounce of caterpillar killer. So what I like to do is put a small splash in the bottom of a jar and fill it up with water. If you would like to be precise with this measurement, you're going to need about 1/12 of an ounce per quart, or you're going to need about 1/3 of an ounce per gallon. Once you have your ingredients, your water and your BT in the jar, give it a good shake, and let's head out and inject the plants. Alright, so for those of you who are new to squash vine borers, let's go over the damage real quick so that you know what you're looking for. First off, you're going to see frass somewhere on the plant as the borers grow larger. Frass is essentially waste. It's borer poop. So if you see this, then you know that you're dealing with borers. Many times you'll find it clumped up by a hole, or here in this clip you'll see that I pruned off a leaf and that just happens to be where the frass is coming out at. In addition, you'll see some damage to the main stem on this plant. And you'll also notice on an otherwise healthy plant that looks perfectly fine, you'll notice a few leaves are starting to go down at some point during growth. So if you start seeing 1 or 2 limp leaves as if they've just wilted, that is a huge sign that you're dealing with borers. It means it has killed that particular leaf. So if you see this damage, you need to take a good look at your vines and be sure to heavily inject any plants that are already afflicted. First, we're going to prune off all of the leaves that are below the fruit. This will reduce the risk of fungal disease. The leaves also put more of a strain on the plant than energy that they produce for the plant. So they just produce a loss of energy that could instead be going into the fruit. And in addition, eggs could be lurking on this older foliage. Once you prune all of these leaves off, you'll be able to inject your plants easier, and you'll be able to spot problem areas a little bit easier. Next, we're going to start injecting. Begin injecting every 3 inches along the main stem, or 1.5 to 2 inches if you see obvious signs of borer damage. This way you can get the bacteria all along the stem of the plant. Now, my work is going to look a little different than this 3 inches that I recommend because I have a method to my madness. So I do as I need in order to protect my plants most efficiently. So if you see me injecting multiple times in a small area, I've noticed borer damage and I want to make sure I eliminate that borer. Now, for beginners, again, I'm going to say 3 inches is a great rule of thumb for injection, especially if you haven't noticed any damage yet. Next, we're going to inject as possible between the flowers and the fruit stems where the fruits are developing. This part of the stem can be a little more solid. So as the plant grows, that area will be easier to inject because it will be behind all of the fruit and flowers, but you may find that this area can be a little bit troublesome. Also, the point at which the vine goes into the ground could be a little more solid as well. So you're going to struggle a little bit, but don't stress about it. If you can't get it very well, just get what you can in and just be sure to cover the stem with some of the excess BT afterwards. You're going to want to go up about 6 inches up each large leaf stem, and you're going to want to inject several cc's. You want this solution to flow down the leaf stem all the way down to the main stem in order to coat the inside of the leaf. Now, previously you saw one of the wilted leaves being evidence of borer damage. Now, when this occurs, that means the borer has damaged the vascular system to that particular leaf. So it is clear as day that the borers are getting inside of the leaves and living there rather than just the main stem. So you need to be taking care of leaf stems and the main stem. This is one of the primary reasons that wrapping with foil or using pantyhose may not work for you. So if this has failed in the past, this is exactly why. They will burrow down from the leaves into the leaf stems. Borers don't necessarily lay eggs on the stem. I actually tend to see the moth laying eggs on the leaf, just like squash bugs. Now, if the leaf is the size of your hand or smaller, just leave it for next week. There's not going to be any eggs on that leaf. There's not going to be anything hatching on that leaf, and nothing is going to burrow in that leaf within the 2 days' time that the BT is going to be active. So don't waste your time with the smaller leaves. They'll be fine until next week. They'll probably still be healthy next week. But at that point in time, there is a chance that there is an egg that may be hatching soon. So putting the BT in will give you some protection for a few days until the next injection. Now, in order for this method to work, you must inject regularly or it simply will not work. Many people have had plants die even when using BT, even when injecting, but it's because this must be done weekly at minimum. External use is not highly effective because it only protects outside of the plant, and it's only going to work if you catch a borer on its way into the plant. There's a very tiny time window, and you may not catch that. You could inject your plants twice a week once the female flowers appear. Now, supposedly the borer moth is attracted to the yellow flowers of the squash plant. It's attracted to the yellow. So I highly recommend to start injecting once the flowers appear. Usually the plants are too young, it's too early in the season, the borers don't make it to the plant till about this point in time. So I don't know if it's coincidence or if it actually is the color of the blooms that attract them. But my plants are always safe up until about this point. By the time the first fruits are appearing, there's usually an infestation of them within the vine. So once the flowers appear, inject. This is the best method for beginners, injecting twice a week. Now, if you're busy, once a week works as long as you're very thorough. This means that if you want to go with a once a week schedule, you need to put some serious time into your vines when you do inject. You need to inject them slowly, thoroughly, and you don't want to miss any spots, because if you miss any spots, there could be an active borer that's already been there for 5 days that'll be there for another 7 days. 12 days is a long time to have a borer munching on your plant. Once you're experienced, you can drop to once per week while watching for frass. I've gotten away with 2 weeks before, towards the end of the season, but I'm very thorough whenever I go through and inject. I don't recommend this. I really don't, because you may lose your plant. I can't say that this will work for you, but I've gotten away with it. I do have 2 small children. Sometimes it can be hard to do the things that you need to do in the garden. So it's starting to get a little dark out here. I apologize. It was just the time that I could film. I have a little bit of Q&A for you guys regarding the vine borers and injection. First, why does BT work better inside rather than outside the vine? Well, it's simple. It's because the vine borer lives inside of the vine. Therefore, if you put something on the outside, it's not going to work so much, because you need it inside where the borer can ingest it so that the borer stops feasting on your plants. Number 2, why inject instead of just performing vine surgery and cutting out the borer? Well, vine surgery is going to take you far longer than injecting. Plus, you're going to miss a lot of vine borer larvae during this process, because they're very, very small when they first hatch, and if you miss them, they're just going to grow up and eat your plants too. So vine surgery isn't super effective unless you've got like 1 mature borer. Number 3, what about the pollinators? Well, the great thing is that BT is friendly for the pollinators unless we're talking about caterpillars. However, you're injecting this rather than applying it outside of the vine. I do apply it outside, but you don't have to apply it to the blossoms, and you don't have to apply it in the middle of the day. You can apply it in the evening when the pollinators have already gone off to bed for the night. So this is one of the safest options that you could use for your pollinators. Plus, I don't see very many beneficial caterpillars hanging out of my squash plants. So all in all, this is a great method for the pollinators. And for the last one, will it hurt your food? The answer is, anything could hurt your food, but this stuff has not hurt my food. It has not been poisonous for us, and I am far more comfortable putting BT on and in my vines than I am using 7 Dust or neem oil or anything of the sort. So I'd say give it a go, because I absolutely love it.